Aloha and welcome to the Workbook of A Course in Miracles, Lesson 134. We're talking about forgiveness again. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. So let's jump in here. This is a little long, but we'll jump right in. Let us review the meaning of forgive, for it is apt to be distorted and to be perceived as something that entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath, a gift unjustified and undeserved, and a complete denial of truth. In such a view, forgiveness must be seen as mere eccentric folly, and this course appears to wrest salvation on a whim. So that's what we normally would think of forgiveness, if sin is real. That it's, it's an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath. Like if sin is real, then and you're denied your righteous wrath, then because someone forgave the other person of something that they really did. So that's kind of where it's going here. This is a twisted view of what forgiveness means. This twisted view of what forgiveness means is easily corrected when you accept the fact that pardon is not asked for something that is true. And that's the key there. If the world is an illusion, if sin is an illusion, and you're forgiving something that never happened, like you forgive something that happens in a dream, then it isn't any of these things. Like you're just overlooking something that's not real. It's basically what it's saying. Instead of making the sin real and then trying to forgive it, like saying this really happened, and that person, they don't deserve to be forgiven, and I don't know if I can forgive them because they really did this. But no. In the Course in Miracles, what it teaches is that sin is not real because this world is not real. So let's read on a little bit. This twisted view of forgiveness means it's easily corrected when you accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true. It must be limited to what is false. It's irrelevant to everything except illusions. See, illusions are not true. Truth is God's creation, and to pardon that is meaningless. All truth belongs to Him, reflects His laws, and radiates His love. And does this need pardon? How can you forgive the sinless and eternally benign? So that's what we really are in truth, sinless and eternally benign. We are God's creation. We are an extension of the Father. So that's what we are in truth. So do you need, if what we are in truth, does it need to be pardoned? Of course not, because it's eternally benign and sinless. The major difficulty that you find in genuine forgiveness on your part is that you still believe you must forgive the truth and not illusions. That's why it's so hard for us, because we still think that this world is true and the bad things that happen to us really happen, or the bad things that we did to other people. We still believe that. So you conceive of pardon as a vain attempt We'll look past what is there. Like, they really did this thing to me. And forgiveness is just looking past what they really did. To overlook the truth in an unfounded effort to deceive yourself by making an illusion true. See, when we make sin real and refuse to forgive it and let it go and don't recognize it for what it is, we make it true to us. And then it becomes, forgiveness sounds like they don't deserve forgiveness. What are you talking about, forgiveness? How can you forgive someone? That's like worse. That's kind of what it's saying. Unless we see that it's just an illusion that we're forgiving. This twisted viewpoint reflects the hold that the idea of sin retains as yet upon your mind as you regard yourself. So, I mean, it's just kind of normal for the way we would think about forgiveness and sin, because we still regard ourselves as separate and living in a body and capable of sin. Because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. For it's impossible to think of sin as true and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus is forgiveness really but a sin, like all the rest. It says the truth is false and smiles on the corrupt, as if they were blameless as the grass or white as snow. It's delusional in what it thinks it can accomplish. It would see as right the plainly wrong and the loathsome as good. And that's kind of what we feel like the Course is asking us to do when we think sin is real, is to forgive something that's really happened, that doesn't deserve to be forgiven. And that's kind of where we're at. So we need to have this is why this lesson is so important, that we understand what it is we're forgiving, that we're forgiving. We are forgiving what has never occurred. Pardon is no escape in such a view. It merely is a further sign that sin is unforgivable at best, to be concealed, denied, or called another name. For pardon is treachery to truth. If we're really forgiving real true sins, then it's asking us to do something that doesn't even make sense. But guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. And those who are forgiven from the view their sins are real are pitifully mocked, twice condemned, first by themselves for what they think they did, and once again by those who pardon them. So it is sin's unreality. Here's the turning point. Here's the key. It is sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane, a deep relief to those who suffer, who offer it, a quiet blessing where it is received. It does not countenance illusions. But it collects them lightly, with a little laugh, and gently lays them at the feet of truth, and there they disappear entirely. So this is the secret here that we got to keep in mind about forgiveness. Sin is unreality, and so forgiveness, what it does, it collects the things that we think are sin lightly, and with a little laugh it gently lays them at the feet of truth, where they disappear. So all the sins that we think have been done to us or through us are not real. And when we bring them to the truth, which is what forgiveness does, and lay them at the truth says it's not real. It's just a dream. It's like this world, whatever happens here is not real. You can't think of it any more real than what happens in your dreams, or in a movie that you watch, or a video game you play. It's make-believe. It's made up. So we can't. To forgive sin is to realize that and bring it to the truth and see that the separation never happened. We didn't become fallen sinners, but we are living in a nightmare of where we're dreaming that it did happen. And that's what we realize when we forgive. Forgiveness is the only thing that stands for truth in the illusions of the world. It sees their nothingness. It looks straight through the 1,000 forms in which they may appear. It looks on lies, but it's not deceived. Forgiveness does not need the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merely says to them, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." That's what forgiveness does. The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions as illusions and not as truth. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in the face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth. By its ability to overlook what is not there, it opens up the way to truth, which has been blocked by dreams of guilt. That's what this world is, dreams of guilt. Now you are free to follow the way your true forgiveness opens to you. For if one brother has received this gift of you, the door is open to yourself. There's a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide and welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for that is self-deception. So we're not going to dwell on what we think happened to us, but we're just going to ask, would I accuse myself of doing this? Whatever it is. Would I accuse myself of doing this? I mean, you may say, hey, I have done this before. I think I would accuse myself. But that's because you don't realize that the self you think you are is not your real self. So again, ask yourself, would I accuse myself of this? Anytime. And that's what we're going to practice doing today. Thus will you see alternatives for choice in terms that render choosing meaningful and keep your mind as free of guilt and pain as God Himself intended it to be, and as it is in truth. It is but lies that would condemn. In truth, is innocence the only thing there is. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. This is how forgiveness works. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to the truth. Across this bridge of forgiveness, all the dreams of evil and hell and hatred and attack are brought silently to the truth. They are not kept to swell and bluster and to terrify the foolish dreamer who believes in them. He has been gently wakened from his dream by understanding what he thought he saw was never there. This is mind-blowing stuff to me. And now he cannot feel that all escape has been denied to him. He does not have to fight to save himself. He does not have to kill the dragons which he thought pursued him. Nor need he erect the heavy walls of stone and iron doors he thought would make him safe. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light, and as he lifts his foot to stride ahead, a star is left behind to point the way to those who follow him. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. There is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws it follows, nor the thought that it reflects. It is as alien to the world as is your own reality. This idea of forgiveness. I mean, not even in the church do they teach it this way. I never heard it. That the world is illusion and you're forgiving only the illusion. You're overlooking something that never happened. I never got that. I always got that you really been sinned against and you should be like Jesus and forgive them because you're better than they are. That kind of forgiveness. Which A Course in Miracles says that is not forgiveness at all because it makes sin real and sin is not true. So there's no thought in the world that leads to understanding of the laws forgiveness follows, nor the thought that it reflects. It's as alien to this world as your own reality, and yet forgiveness joins your mind with the reality in you. Today we practice forgiveness, that the time of joining be no more delayed, for we would meet with our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps lighting up the way for all of our brothers who will follow us to the reality we share with them. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour twice today, 30 minutes, and we're going to spend it with the guide, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, who understands the meaning of forgiveness. So we're going to spend half an hour with our guide, our inner guide. And our inner guide knows the meaning of forgiveness. And our inner guide was sent to us to teach it. So let's ask him, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. That's how we're going to start these quarter-hour periods. And then choose one brother as the guide directs and catalog his sins. As one by one they cross your mind. Be certain not to dwell on any one of them, but realize Realize that you are using his offenses, but to save the world from all idea of sin. So we're going to pick this one person. We're going to say, okay, this is what I think he's done, his sins. But we're not going to dwell on them because we're going to forgive them and use that brother to represent the idea to ourselves and to others that sin is an unreality. It's an illusion. That doesn't mean that the Son of God doesn't make mistakes that need to be corrected, but never sins that need to be punished. Okay, be certain not to dwell on any one of that person's so-called sins, but realize that you are using his offenses to save the world from all ideas of sin. Yeah. Briefly consider all the evil things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for doing this? Because if we condemn our brother for doing this, we are condemning ourselves. Because we are one. You know, if we say, you're a liar and you should be punished, you should go to jail, you should whatever, we're condemning ourselves. So that's why we're asked this question. Am I going to condemn myself for what I see, what I think of as sin that I projected onto my brother? So am I going to judge myself that I should be, whatever you think should happen to the person? Let him be freed from all the thoughts you had of sin in him. And now you are prepared for freedom. If you've been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting up. You will begin to sense a lightening of weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of relief. The time remaining should be given to experiencing the escape from all the heavy chains that you sought to lay upon your brother, but were laid upon yourself. Wow. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will still be many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this illusion as you tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Would I accuse myself of doing this? I will not lay this chain upon myself. And in everything you do, remember this. No one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself, because we are one. And if we try, Jesus was not alone when he was crucified on the cross. And when we condemn and crucify someone else, we're there with them. But when we forgive them, we are forgiven too, because we are one. No one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself. You can't enter heaven and exclude somebody else. I can go, but you can't. No, we go together. So that's the thought for today. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Have a wonderful day today, and thank you for doing this course with me. And I will see you tomorrow. Aloha, mahalo, huio.